What's going on? And welcome to another episode of the You Want It, You Got It podcast. Today I am speaking with Seth from the band Nowhere Fast from Louisville, Kentucky. What's going on, Seth?
Not much, man. How are you?
Good, good, man. Just chilling. Another day, another dollar, but I ain't making no dollars.
Same.
So, we chatted a little bit before. We're kind of around the same age, so we kind of grew up around the same kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, Back in your heyday, man, what was something that what was an album that really just got you going? Like got you interested into doing the music?
Well, I moved to Louisville at the right time, like middle of seventh
Yeah.
grade. But I think the records that put me towards the scene were, during that day, it was anything from like BC Boys, Check Your Head to like the Posies, Frosting on the Beater, Lemonheads. It's a Shame About Ray. The record
Hell
was
yeah.
huge. I was like
Yeah.
a little kid, but I remember listening to that record like front to back. I still listen to that record. I think
Oh,
it's
great record.
yeah, I think it's phenomenal. And then you know, met some friends and started doing the mixtapes and the mixed CDs things. I remember on a mixtape, I got some Bad Religion and No
Hell yeah.
Effects stuff. And then once you found the Louisville scene, then it went to like, Endpoint, By the Grace of God, and Falling Forward, which became Elliot, and Evergreen, and it's so
Yeah,
many.
keep going.
Yes. I could keep going on and on and on. But I would say like before finding the scene, it was all REM and replacements videos on MTV
Fuck
along with
yeah.
the Clash. And I was still too young to understand the Clash. I just knew I liked it, you know.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, but and then once I found that, the Lemonheads record, because I found that all that before Nirvana broke and all that stuff.
Same,
These were
same.
this was the surface of everything to come. So,
Yeah.
so
I really
obviously
like the
we're a punk band. I mean, that's what they used. It's before pop bands. That's why half the people hated that record, and the other half were like, "Nah, I like what you're doing."
yeah.
Yeah,
I let the Lemonheads, man. I really think like Evan Dando, man, his vocals are just so original, and they still
yeah.
are, man. It's like um and I
Evan is.
missed out. Go ahead.
I said Evan is an original character.
Oh
It's only
yeah.
one, there's only one Dando, man.
Last year they played Nashville and I wasn't able to go and a buddy of mine and they went and sent me a video and I was like, dude, this guy still sounds the same. He still sounds the same, man. I was like, wow, I'll kick myself in the ass for not going though.
I drove, so you made me feel good because I drove on a fucking Tuesday or Wednesday night up to Bloomington, Indiana, just to see the Lemonheads as a three-piece.
Oh wow.
Uh, and then they were doing like "It's a Shame About Ray," and then they played some songs from like "Come On," and it was cool. And I was real
Yeah.
happy and real tired on the drive back, but I was real happy that I went.
Hey,
So,
it's worth it though, man. Sometimes
yeah,
those drives and sometimes you gotta do it and then it pays for itself later, the memories,
yeah.
you know.
Then
That
yeah, I guess after all that, man, like any other kid from that day and age, like even after Kurt's passing and all that, it's like here comes Epitaph and Fat Records
oh
and
yeah.
Lookout Records was huge. I was into
Yep.
all that, like just hit like a ton of bricks for a pubescent young person with all the angst.
Were you a
So.
skater?
It was.
Hell
I
yeah.
still ride
See
around on my board every now and then. So I
see
still got a board in my trunk. I have to take it out every now and then, if we're not taking a van out on the road, like, for using like the smaller vehicles, like there's not a lot of room for it, but I usually always have it with me.
Well, see, that's how that's one thing about skate videos back in the day, man. How many badass bands and shit we find through those skate videos,
Oh,
whether it was punk rock or hip hop or even metal, it's just everything was in those videos.
I'll bet, like I've said one of these things before for sure. It's because it's such a fond memory. But I also remember another skate video was the Menace video. I think it was the Menace video, and they had the entire Method Man record on there almost. The
What?
first one, to Cal. And it was so sick. It was like it was before half those dudes went to chocolate or whatever became that.
Yeah.
For that, I remember the transfer video. I slowed down credits to find out who these bands were, and it was Face to Face, Can't Change the World, and it was back to back with Super Chunk's Driveway to Driveway.
Oh,
And to this day, both those bands are still like major influence. I love them both the same. I still play their records and buy their records on vinyl, and they do reprints or whatever they're doing. So that's
yeah.
used to this day. Yeah, skate videos were everything. You
Fuck
know, what's
yeah.
that Power video opened up with was it Caballero opened up with Van Halen? Oh, I think that a Powell video? I think
Which
that was
was it?
Powell.
Which wait, because I know there was one skate set, one video somebody opened up with Eruption, and I was like, okay, but see, I hadn't even known of I didn't even know of Van Halen really at that point. I knew the name, I knew some songs, but I wasn't really into like Van Halen until like I started seeing them on skate videos and stuff, and then I started doing a deep dive on these bands, you know, and
I knew
um,
Van Halen, and I knew Iron Maiden and Metallica and Megadeth. And my first actual intro to punk was a Black Flag record, and this was all
same.
because of my older brother.
Ah,
And growing up in Birmingham, Alabama, you freaking knew who Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, you
yeah,
knew who all these bands were. So I definitely knew who Van Halen I knew before probably realizing that I liked REM and all that stuff, you know, just because
yeah,
my brother just kept, and the album cover looked cool. It's like
yeah,
when it was like looking at like the Zeppelin cover with the girl on the rocks, you know, it's like the Van Halen was a baby with a pack of smokes, and you're
yes,
like, I'm a
Pack of Smokes,
kid, and
yep.
it's like 1986. I'm like, this is kind of sick, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I knew Van Halen. I didn't know them. I didn't really know a lot of their music, you know. My first introduction to like, I was a hip hop head because I was from Cali, and I was like into like Run DMC and LL Cool J and that kind of
Got
stuff
the
in the 80s.
flavors before all of us, dude, in the
Yeah.
South, for sure.
um, but then I moved to Germany, and I got my buddy, my buddy came over. And well, it was at the time it was my mom's friend's son brings over Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, and Injustice for All, and he puts them on, and I was like, "Oh, what the hell is this, dude?" And he's like, "Well, you don't like this?" I was like, "Nah, man, it's a little out. I don't know what this is." So they were about to dip out, and I was like, "Hey, can you leave those?" And he left them, and I
Yes,
sat
I
in
can
my
check these
room. Yeah, dude, I was hooked. I was hooked. I was like, okay. So then I was a bagger at the store there, so I'd bag some groceries up, make some money, and then I just started buying records and all. I
out.
was hooked on metal at that point. I went down every hole, man. Went from metal to hair metal to everything, and then I got punk rock. Like my buddy, this other guy, because when you're in the military, base, you get people from all over the U.S. coming to
Yeah,
Germany. So I met this guy, man. He gave me a mixtape. It had Misfits, Black Flag, DI, 7 Seconds. And I was just like, fuck, this is some cool shit too. And I was like, there's so many different styles of music out. I was hooked, man. I was listening to it all. I was loving it, man.
I remember the
Um,
first time I heard Misfits, I was immediately hooked. I was like, "This is a dingier, catchier Ramones." It just sounds like shitty Elvis demos, is what it sounded like.
right?
But it's so sick because it's like the shit
Yeah.
that Elvis would never sing about. You know what I mean? And
No.
then you do the deep dive, and you go watch the movie where they got their name if you hadn't seen it yet. It
Yep.
was just all that stuff was cool. In the first wave of punk, like that 70s wave,
Oh yeah.
especially in the mid and late 70s, like it was cool. It was cool because it was a wide spectrum, but
Mhm.
with CBGBs and stuff like that, like just bringing all those bands to the forefront really paved the
Sure.
way, and like bands like the Cars,
Oh
and
yeah. 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 Yeah.
it's
Talking
so weird.
Heads.
Talking Heads, dude,
Yeah.
Blondie,
Yep. All
Television's,
that stuff, dude. Yeah.
but it paved the
And
way for all the stuff that I fell in love with, you know.
Well, you think about too, like in the '60s, you had MC5. You know, they were kind of the OGs of that. You know, it's like what they were doing in the '60s. You're like, holy shit! And then
I could go back in time to the '60s just to even hell, I'd do it for the late '50s too, after, like, rock and roll was a few years old, but especially in the '60s.
yeah,
Like, just to see, like, those house parties and those garage
uh,
bands, like, think about some of that shit we never heard was probably the one that never made it to the studio.
oh
There's some
yeah.
just killer bands that were already doing stuff like they were the first but never heard. That's the way I always look at it, you know?
What I
So,
mean, even some of that stuff in the '50s was kind of it had a little had some little speed to it or a little punky to it. You know, what I'm saying some of them
yeah,
like
especially like Cochran and uh, all the rockabilly dudes, you know, like
oh
even
yeah,
the
yeah,
Chet Atkins stuff, man. Like he plays like
oh
some of
yeah,
that
for
stuff,
sure.
you know, so fucking quick. I'm like, what? Come on.
Yep. Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Um.
I love.
So your band, Nowhere Fast. How long y'all been around for? Almost 20 years? Does that sound? Is that about right?
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, off and on. You know, we got all
Yeah.
the rock and roll stories without the popularity.
Um, I wasn't aware of you guys surprisingly for even being around there for that long. And I got obviously introduced to you through Peter, and when I went back and listened to everything that I was able to see online, and I really enjoyed everything that you guys have out. It's fucking great. I love it.
Appreciate that, man.
Are you guys currently working on some new stuff?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy because we did release a new record last November, and we've been playing it, and we just wrapped up like a bunch of festivals and one-offs and weekend warrior shows for last month. So actually, our keyboard
Yeah.
player's in Florida right now as I speak. But we've been writing, and we're going on July 12th. We set out some time just to get some demos done, and we have about 5 to 6 new songs. We have way more than that, but we have 5 to 6 that we definitely 5 we can take to a studio, 6 maybe, or we usually demo all here, but we're gonna go in and work with our homie Chill, who we worked on the last record with, just to cut some demos. Uh, yeah,
And
we're
that last album was the Modern Archaic that came out in 2024 November. Um, how long did you guys take to write that record?
too long.
Too long. Yeah.
Way too long. That was the I don't know, like Jim Bob and I, like after the pandemic, just getting started again it was slow, but once we got
Yeah.
going and we had to do some changes, we lost a rhythm section and found a rhythm section at home that wasn't states away that we had to fly back and forth to, you know. So that was
That's
that
cool.
was about 10 years of the band, which I love that section of the band. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
just glad everybody's okay because that 10 years it was insane
Yeah.
on all fronts. Um, but yeah, once Rafa and Rob and I started writing in the pandemic because I met him and we just hit it off right away. And then Rafa sat in and was like, "Yeah, let me try this." And he's a hired gun and session musician before he met us, so he got
Yeah.
into writing it, and we took we took a while. Like I had songs, and I hit a little bit of writer's block, not writer's block, but like um, we were trying some new things out on the record. It took me a minute to really get some melodies and points across the way I wanted to. And but once I got past it, and it is once you start switching shit up, you get, it's not always
Yeah.
an easy road, but it's a road that helps you. It's helped the new songs just be a lot easier. You know, it's
The pandemic really was a rough time because a lot of bands didn't make it out of the pandemic.
no,
But
I
a
thought
lot of
we, yeah,
bands, yeah,
yeah, I
I know.
did. I mean, I'm gonna play some shows here and there if I can get a lineup together. But like, yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's scary
But
times.
a lot of bands didn't make it through, but a lot of bands came out from the pandemic because we did have a lot of free time on our hands, and
Uh,
there's so many bands that came out of the pandemic. Like, holy shit, you can't keep up with all these bands. But it's cool though, it's good to hear. And a lot of bands that hadn't been around for 10 or 15 years came back after the pandemic and started playing and touring again, which is way rad.
I think it was the element of, I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't know I'd be living through a pandemic. I mean,
No, I didn't know that, that's something I never thought I would ever see, and there we
right.
were.
And it was wild. And I think it kind of just, I think people had a lot of time to think. And even those bands that were like, oh, I'm never doing this again, they were like, well, I did enjoy it. Life,
Yeah.
I think it's just like it's that one life is short moments. You
Mhm.
know, I also think with our latest record, I remember long time ago. I think the first 7 years, that first face to face documentary. Trevor Keith said something I was too young to understand at the time, and I think it makes sense for any caliber of band, whatever size you are, is to get to your third record is almost impossible to have
Yeah.
a third record. It's hard to have two records, and it's hard to
Yep.
get past two records. And I think that's another thing that played in is I was like, okay, new lineup, great lineup, best lineup I've had. And I love the guys. We're family and we're a unit too. Like I'm not
Yeah.
coming in saying this is gonna be this and this is gonna be this. Like I like working with people, and I like you might leave rehearsal a little rubbed the wrong way with your
Yeah.
mate, but you wake up the next morning, you're like, bastard's right, probably, and it
Yeah.
vice versa to
Yeah, for
everybody.
sure. I know what you mean.
But yeah, third record was hard. And we tried, like I said, we tried some different things. It's still got like the punk rock ethos, but we stretched, trying some things, and that's
So
easy.
you guys have 3 records out in that whole span of time that you guys have been at, or is there more than 3 albums out?
There's 3 albums that I count.
Okay.
We
I know what you
have
mean. Trust me, I know what you mean there. I had a band, the band I was in, we had 4, but we only count 2, you know what I'm saying? Because
right. I feel like in '06 we put out a Hollow Angel 7-inch, and it was like right off the road. We were real young, and um, I don't. I had let's sidetrack for a minute. I had a buddy almost tell me one time, he's like, "You should take the early stuff down and just start at trials and go from there." And the thing is that EP and that 7-inch have the original one of the like somebody that's not with us anymore. You know what I mean? Who I spent a
Mhm.
lot of time touring all 4 corners of this place with, learning to write the songs for what I consider the first real release is 2013's Trials. Even though on the Highland sessions we did get a good song on that 4-song EP, but that was supposed to be a full length. We were just too young and still too stupid of trying to pick the right engineers, not picking the right engineers, not really knowing how to write songs that well yet. And then for some reason, I don't even remember how I got hooked up with Stephen Edgerton, and I only know him from this, and we're not buds, like, but I do appreciate this, and he salvaged it and gave us a
Uh-huh.
little bit of lessons of. I'm a big Heartbreakers, like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers fans. And he's
Yeah,
like,
for
well, you
sure.
still
Yep.
don't need to layer. You don't need 50,000 guitars, and you need to focus on your drum sounds and, all these learning lessons from one of my freaking influences. And it's just like, okay. So that came out in 2010. It's weird how you remember timelines. I can't remember half the shit people ask me. But I remember I spent, we went through a lot of changes in that 3 years before Trials came out. But I do know when I sat in that 3 years, and that record was mostly just written and recorded in Chicago and in Michigan. I got out of Louisville. I just used contacts from touring, and really I crammed with my buddy Garrick, of all, like, just someone who's still in my life and kind of like a fifth, sixth member of the band all the time. But crammed and learn how to write songs. You know?
Y- so the first actual album you guys written was that Hollowed Angel. Is that was your first 7 inch?
Yeah, we had a full length before that, but it's all
Uh-huh.
burned and trashed, and it's no files of it, or I have like a copy. It is like it's kind of like that first Jimmy Eat World record, the one that
Yeah.
just on
Yeah.
YouTube. It's
Yeah.
like it was a hot mess. I mean, I give us all the credit in the world for being just kids, like any other kid. You hear your friends coming out with these rad records, and it's like, oh, we're the same age, and you are by far better songwriter than me right
Yeah.
now. So, and that's what I got
No.
obsessed with, writing songs. That's what I love to do.
Well,
So
so on this current record, um, are you satisfied with the way this turned out?
yeah, I am.
Yeah.
There's always a few things here and there, you know. I think that's with every record. You
Oh
know, there's
yeah.
I am extremely proud of the record though, and I think um it became so much more of a cohesive effort on this album, and I did all the guitars, and we let the keys be a major, like if you go back to Ionian, there's like keys on 3 songs. If you listen to this record, it is the keyboard. We wanted to do a piano rock album, you know, and we did, and it was cool, and we put that punk ethos to it, you know, that indie thing. So
Well,
yeah.
that opening track, Chemicals and Colors, it's just like, man, it sucks you in. That song just sucks you in. It's like, and it's a feel. It just has such a great vibe to it, you know. I forgot what I was listening to. It was somebody it was like an indie band, like an indie label, and when you listen to Spotify, something ends and then it starts a playlist. And I don't know how they picked the playlist, but that was
Mhm.
the first song that popped back up, and I was like, "What the hell? I know this from somewhere." And then I looked, and I was like, "Oh yeah, 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 okay." But that song's just a vibe in itself, man. So that's like, even though it's the opening track, I that one gets quite a lot of plays from me. So you might be able to pay your light bill from me.
That's awesome. Believe it or not, that almost didn't open the record. I didn't see it as an
Really?
opener. Yeah, that's man, my brother from another mother, Mr. Bassmaster General for us is Rob, and he said it. And then my buddy Garrick from Chicago. So outside the band, when we're getting sequences, I
Uh-huh.
always send it to 2 people. One's in Louisville that's not in the band, and one's Garrick in Chicago. Because I like to just pull 2 outside people in, and people I trust. And Garrick sent back Chemicals opening. Rob had said the day before we should open with Chemicals, and I was like, oh my God, okay. I can't argue with the universe, you know, like giving me
Yeah.
signs. Like, all right. Because sequencing a record is just it's hard and it's important. And I've said it a million times. I still will put out records, even if they are 7 to 9 to 11 songs.
Oh
We'll do
yeah.
singles and EPs, but like I don't know. I like a short full length, and I like the art of putting something cohesive together. So,
Yeah.
and I feel like if you do a ton of singles, it sometimes can get lost in the
Yeah.
shuffle. So,
I will say I never liked the process of, all right, what song comes, what's gonna be track one, all right, what's gonna be track two.
hey,
I always let I just left that up to my singer, and I'm like, I'm cool, whatever, bro, just as long as we get this shit out, I don't care how it starts out. And then we would always be like, well, what if we just put an intro at the beginning? I'm like, that starts it out right there. Let's put an intro. So we always have some sort of intro with some kind of eerie music and some kind of like movie quote, like that's not been done before, but it works, and
right,
um
right. No, I mean, you're right. I think all of us, we probably had like 4 or 5 sequences, and then we'll narrow it down to 3, and then we'll narrow it down to
yeah,
1. But these, I think this time around, I think going through everything we went through with Modern to try and like the learning curve was worth it, you know. because now we're playing with a little bit more fire and a little bit more fury, and we're kind of taking, I guess, the last 3 albums, and we're trying to, you're trying not to repeat, but you're also trying not to
Yeah.
lose what might be catching people's ears either. I don't write for the people that like us, but I definitely try and like you said, like what you said about chemicals, that's exactly what
Yeah.
we want to hear.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what you tried for,
I mean,
let that work out.
you don't want to stray too far from, I guess, what your sound has become. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to like
No.
dramatic, you don't want to go now. You don't want to be like, oh yeah, I think we're just gonna go be a death metal band now. You're not gonna be like,
Yeah,
that's
no.
just like, that's just fucking crazy, it's
Now,
been
will we
done
put like
before.
maybe a heavy breakdown in? Maybe
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
felt the need. Yeah, we're gonna go make a reggae album now. So,
Yeah. I mean,
which on a Sunday
it's like,
morning don't tempt us.
it's like Ministry went from a new wave band to an industrial band, like over records. Like, what the hell just happened? But
Over
hey, it
record.
worked for him, I guess. Yeah, it was like a new wave record. The next one was just industrial as fuck, But
I've always been
uh,
attracted to the bands that like anywhere from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers to the Get Up Kids, or to, I like those bands, the Weaker Thins. They tried a bunch of stuff, but they still sound like them. You know,
yeah.
it's like Propaganda. It's I
Oh
just
man,
love how they've gotten heavier and heavier and better and
yes.
better, but it's still
Mhm.
Propaganda. Same
Yeah.
with like Strung Out and bands like that. You know,
Well, that new Propaganda record, there's some thrashy parts in there. It's just like, whoa, fuck, but it's still Propaganda, though.
I
Um,
love every
but you,
record, man, but like this new
well,
one's mind blowing.
it's great. I tell this story every time Propaganda gets brought up, and it gets brought up damn near every episode because Propaganda is just a great band. But when that first
That's
record, when everything came out, that first record, I didn't realize that it wasn't a Fat Mike side band, right? So I totally thought that was a fucking No Effects side project, right? And
yeah.
for many years, Propaganda,
You can
because
see
all I
why he
had was,
signed them.
yeah, oh
You can
yeah,
see why he signed
yeah.
them.
And then the next record they hated him, right? Was it the next record they hated him and wrote a song about him or something? I don't remember that part, but um, yeah. So when I finally got this CD in my hand and not a tape copy, I was like, I look at the members' names and I was like, oh, this band's from Canada. Holy shit. Okay, not No Effects, but I've liked everything they've done. I did, kind of fall off for a couple years. By a couple years, probably about 10 or so years of Propaganda, but I've gone back and listened to those albums that I've missed, and really wasn't too many albums. But yeah,
No,
the
there's
new
like
album was
only
fucking
two
great.
after supporting. There's two after,
Yeah,
well, three after supporting cast now. But
yeah.
like I remember, I like the first two records, but I am definitely that Propaganda fan. That is like when Empire came out, I was
Uh-huh.
like, oh, these dudes are serious. And then Potemkin, and then on and on and on, and it's just gotten so much better, and I love it all. But it's what a cool progression for a band.
Speaking of them, they're supposed to play Fest this year, and of course they're not doing any US dates.
In
Um,
any states,
have you played Fest at all?
we haven't played Fest in 10 years. We're trying to get
Okay.
back. Yeah, we would love to get back
Uh,
at some point. We just played Jorts Fest and Midwest Friends Fest, and uh, we might do some other fests in the fall. I'm not sure yet. We're kind of getting our fall outings together right now. So
um, yeah, you guys did play Nashville, what, 2 weeks ago? Was that
yeah,
about right?
yeah,
And
it's weird. We've already played Nashville twice this year, which is wild. Yeah.
wow, how was that show? This last one?
Jorts Fest was awesome. It
Yeah,
was and it was the East Side Bowl that I haven't been to yet.
neither
And
have I.
I got family in Nashville. It's like between Nashville and Chicago. I'm fortunate enough to have some second homes, but
Wow. Yeah.
um it was nice to be there. Last time we played there, I think it was in March. We played Vinyl Lounge,
Yeah, Vinyl Lounge.
which
That
is,
place is pretty cool.
what did it used to be? Do you know?
No.
I
Um,
felt like I'd been there before, but not when it was that, because you can't forget feeling like you're in Frisco being up on that hill looking down
Yeah.
on the skyline. And okay,
What?
and I'll find
So
out at
you
some.
so have you been to Frisco?
Not in a very long time. And the last
Yeah.
time I was there, we had an off day. This is years ago now, and I played a solo set at a coffee shop slash laundry slash bar, so we could get free laundry because
Oh,
it was
nice. Yeah.
a long time ago. This is back in the days of when we were on like a 42 date run or something like that. And then supposedly Klaus from DK bought me a Heineken. At least that's what the photographer lady he was with said. But you know, he just looked like the college professor to me at the time. So,
Yeah.
but you know, I don't know that personally. If it was, I thanked him. It was cool. If it was really you, that's rad because I am a DK fan for sure. But
There's a that's my home. I was born in San Francisco. I lived there off and on. I go back every year to visit family and shit. So
yeah, I got
it's
buddies.
still
It's
it's a
cool.
fun place, man. A lot of great music has come out of that city, you know.
I like you all are. You got like one of the most famous. You got one of the most iconic scenes. You know, like you got the East Bay, and then you got
Uh-huh.
what is the oh my god, why am I blanking? Operation Ivy, Green Day. Fuck, what's the club?
Berkeley, Oakland, Berkeley, Gilman Street.
Gilman Street. Jesus, I
Yeah.
work today. I know that. I'm sorry.
Hey,
Red Books on
there's
Gilman Street, man.
dude,
It's cool.
there is a band from Sacramento that is they're bringing back that East Bay sound. They're called
Really?
Halibut Head.
Okay.
And bro, they sound like early, like 39 Smooth, Slappy Hours, Green Day. They sound like Op
Oh,
IV, like that era of the band. And they're young. They're like in their early 20s, you know, but they have that sound. And I love what they have coming out. They do a cover. They got the singer has a label, and they're doing a compilation of like cover songs, local bands doing covers, and they're doing Scotty Doesn't Know. But
mm,
you know, you said Dead Kennedys. There's a band in San Jose that I just got in contact with. They're called Fire Drill. And if I wouldn't have known that it wasn't Jello Biafra, I would have thought it was Jello Biafra because
oh
this
wow.
dude
Okay.
sounds like him to a T. Like you're like the way he sings, you're like, holy shit. Like they're pretty badass. They're called Fire Drill. They're pretty badass.
I just found out, you know the band Joyce Manor?
Yeah,
I
fuck yeah.
just uh, killer band, but
Yeah.
I just found out that they're all from like where like Descendants and Black Flag, like the church and like the Huntington Beach area or something like or
Really? I
around
didn't know they were from wow.
just in that area. There's links to I gotta go back. I just found this out, so I gotta research it more. Like, but
Joyce Manor's
it
really good, man.
that just is like, wow, there's something in the water in that part of the country. It's just
SoCal
wild.
has so many. You figure all the bands that I mean, well, SoCal and NorCal have two different scenes, two different styles of sound. You know, what you had in the
Absolutely.
Bay, what you had in the Bay compared to, I guess you could say like the surf punk like era, like that, like Descendants, Black Flag, or you got like Pennywise and Bad Religion, like those bands, like two different styles from those two different parts of the California. You know,
Epitaph Fat thing, man. It's
golly,
it's north south.
hey, they Epitaph and Fat, like you said, and Lookout. But Epitaph and Fat Records, man, they ruled the '90s for punk rock, man. Everybody
Absolutely.
had the comps, the Fat Records comps, those were fucking epic, Um,
That got me into like so many bands. So many bands. I mean, I remember getting those just because when I got like those tapes in high school, like that was like Punk and Drublic and White
oh
Trash
yeah,
and like
yep,
just like just those no effects eras, and I went back and you do that some of them airlines, which is okay,
oh
and then you
yeah.
get ribbed rips, and
That's my
then
album. That's my favorite album.
So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes. That's probably
That's
like one of
great. Yeah.
like I put that there with the So Why Aren't You Happy Face to Face. Like those are
Uh-huh.
just two of the best like EPs I've ever that have ever just come out.
You, have you know, I'm sure you're the same way though. You know, those albums, you could put them on and you know what's coming next. You know what I'm saying? You know what song's next. But I
Absolutely.
could put on the first Punkorama, even though those songs are on other albums, on those bands' albums. I know I'm listening to Punkorama and I know what's coming next. Like I
Mhm.
have that vibe still. You're like,
Playlist
it's so
before
rad.
playlist.
I hate
Playlist
okay.
before playlist.
I hate listening. I mean, I listen to playlists all the time, but or even like if for some reason I'm listening to Pandora, which is hardly ever, if I hear a song, I'm expecting the next song. So then I got to stop, put that album on just so I can get my fix because
I
it's
do
like
the same.
you're like,
I do the
oh,
same.
that's not what's coming on. Yeah, yeah. But hey,
I do the same.
because it's different times now because it's the playlist era. Nobody really listens to full albums that much anymore. You know, it's like it's
No,
all about
unless you're
playlist, playlist,
selling,
playlist.
that's why you gotta sell vinyl, because those
Exactly.
people are gonna take home and they're gonna appreciate your story
Yeah.
that you
Oh,
created. So, like,
do,
yeah,
when you guys released this album before you did that, did how many singles did you release before you dropped the record?
we just did 2.
Yeah.
We kinda 3, but we rushed it. We took so long that I was like, "I don't wanna do DIY on this record." Well, we wound up doing DIY on this record, and, so you know, this one this is why the vinyl's not out yet, but it's in the works. So, but we
Do you think it's easier to drop a s do you think it's because I know it's a popular thing now, dropping singles, dropping singles instead of dropping albums, and I can see why people do it, but, like, you keep dropping singles by single 8, you've already dropped the whole record, and then, it's like,
the bands are coming
you know
back and they're making it. Here's the record in unison, and they can eventually print it. And a ton of
yeah.
bands are doing it, and I can't say I wouldn't see us doing that with an EP or an LP at some
Yeah, yeah.
point. Um, I think singles make sense to the extent of yes, you're staying current in today's
For sure.
insanity, but it's
Yeah.
not like the 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s even at the height of all this crap. I guess 90s would be height, but I think radio did start to die in the 2000s in the early aughts.
Yeah.
Um, but especially for the first 3 decades of rock and roll, when you're doing singles and you get your B-side, like it's not as it's not as crowded.
Yeah.
It's now you're in a sea of the internet
Oh,
streaming,
man.
and and with technology, which I'm not against. I think the fact that you can make a record in your bedroom is awesome. You're talking to an old punk here. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
all for the DIY stuff, and we were doing it with shittier technology
For
back
sure.
when, and but it's just harder. And I think at some point, I think the art of a record will come back around. And for me, we're not sitting here saying like, oh, we're gonna make it one day and do all this. Like we're older, we still get on the road, we still put out records, and we're
Yeah.
able to do it the way we want to do it. But like, because it's not paying our bills, it's
No,
breaking,
yeah, yeah.
like music don't pay no more, man. It's
Nah,
just
bro, trust
do
me,
enough to get by.
you get what, 0.0002 per stream, or something crazy like
It's
that?
so
You gotta li
stupid.
you gotta stream, like, 300 songs to make $1 or something, but,
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna, like, I think it would be easier for bands like us. There was a moment when it was easy, and, there's a few things that we've screwed up ourselves. Don't let me just blame everybody. We have had our days of being, uh, the replacements, so to speak, just self-destructing. But, like, it's just hard now,
yeah,
it's a lot harder, and I don't wanna, like, knock it, but, like, especially when you got, like, Ticketmaster who figured out a loophole of, well, our subsidiary will just be Live Nation. And I'm like,
yeah, yep, yep,
they have like them and Spotify just they're choking.
yep.
Like the DIY work. I mean, kids are fighting though. I mean, I see it with the youth. I do book here at home, like for a few places, and
Gotcha.
I don't. They're doing it. There's still house shows. There's still, but like, man, for them to make a mark outside of their town, tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. You got to be
I
right place, right time. Still a thing.
I missed the MySpace days. I think MySpace was
Way
that was
easier
like the best time for bands. It was great for bands. It was
before it
so
became
much.
live ads. It was great. Yeah.
Uh-huh. It was so, that's right. That once MySpace came out, calling people or looking through zines to find promoters for a city to book through, now you got MySpace, which was cool. You'll find a band, you could find 12 bands in the area, you can hit them all up, see if they want to trade out a show, and I missed
I
those
went
days. And then
from booking. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. But
No,
I
you're
love
I was gonna
it.
say I was gonna say though, it just died overnight. Like, when did MySpace just stop? Like, I don't even remember when it just stopped. Like, out of nowhere. It's kind of like they say you'll never remember the last time you were outside playing with your friends. You know what I'm saying? Or the last time you rode a bike or something, And it's like,
Yeah.
fuck, when was the last time MySpace? When did MySpace stop? You know? It was like,
Yeah,
man.
and you kind of saw, like, when Facebook came along, you saw that it wasn't as friendly as MySpace, because I went from booking tours with emails and phone calls and
Hmm.
atlases, because we used Book Your Own Fucking Life towards the end of that
Oh
fucking
yeah.
thing, and, that's some still friends and some interesting people on that thing. It's like Craigslist for freaking bands. And then I went from that to also using MySpace because, like you said, you find these bands, you're like, "Oh, look, they're in Lansing, and we're going through Lansing on our way to wherever we're going," and
Yeah.
hit them up, and you hit those 10 bands up, and you're like, "All right, at least 2 of them get back to you, and one of them might just follow through." And then
Yeah.
when Facebook came along, they just wasn't that friendly, and they
Well,
just
see,
kinda shut a lot of that shit down.
but Facebook, when it first started, when Facebook first started, it was strictly just for college students, right? And then
So,
it got
yeah,
open to
I wasn't on it in the beginning
no,
at
me
all.
neither. Um, because like I know friends that were on, they're like, they're talking about Facebook. It's kind of like when if you had an iPhone, you were able to use Instagram when it first came out.
Yeah,
And if you had a Droid, you weren't cool enough to have it if you had a Droid. But then I remember when Instagram was going to Droid, and there was all the memes going around at the time, going up, all the trash is coming in, and it's like, and
well, I mean, in that building, like, you should know it's gonna happen
oh
eventually.
yeah, it's yeah,
I still think I really, I hate that Meta owns Instagram. I still think Instagram is one of the coolest platforms, and it's
yep,
also I'm a little biased too because it's Meta owns it, but and they've made it harder now, but it's like the last dying thing for bands to use that
yeah,
you can get something out of, you know?
and
Um,
there's really nothing else out there currently to use. If Instagram went down, there would be no one, there wouldn't be anything besides obviously Bandcamp, but it's not the same platform as like
Bandcamp
Instagram is.
sucks now. I hate to say it to everybody. I think Bandcamp sucks now. Now, I
Yeah.
hope with new ownership or whatever, it's like Reverb just sold, and I love
Oh,
Reverb.com. But when Etsy bought them, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me," because you knew it was going to get crappy.
wait, who
Now,
bought Reverb?
Etsy bought Reverb a few years
Wow.
back. Now they just sold it, and I can't. I got to go. I find time to read back into it, but suppose it's going back to more independently owned. I'm like, yeah, but are you going to drop that percentage of what you were what Etsy was taking from the sales? I used to be able to flip on
Yeah.
Reverb as well as I could on Craigslist, and then Reverb just got tight, and
Well,
that's what like Bandcamp just their technology. Like I don't know who was laying out their design, just like their apps not user friendly, not
no,
user
totally not.
and
I know.
I'm an
I
alien. I
remember.
need you to be friendly.
I remember before when it first came out, when the app, you had to keep the app open to play, and if you close it out, it was stop. Now they've gotten to
Oh,
where
no.
you could finally do it. But do you remember Pure Volume?
Absolutely. Used
that
it
site
for
was
a
pretty
long
dope, man.
time. Used it
Yeah,
for a
I remember.
long time, and I really hate that, I don't feel like Pure Volume ever caught on
No,
the way it should have. I know people that used it, and we definitely used it,
yeah,
and
I did too.
it was a friendlier platform. And what you're talking about with Bandcamp, I mean, but how long did it take them to where the phone app could close out and your record would still play? You know, it took them forever.
Yep,
And I'm like, okay,
yep,
day late, dollar short. I don't know if you've looked around, but Spotify runs everything.
yeah.
And
You
I still
know
have to, we still have to pay Bandcamp, us bands, free flat service.
how much percentage do they take?
Um, they don't take a percentage anymore. It's like a monthly fee is what they started taking once we
Gotcha.
sold a certain amount of units, which I was like, okay, I know we've sold a certain amount of units for a small
Yeah.
band, but you're still taking out like that's I don't, you know, I don't see Bandcamp making me millions.
No.
It helps us have some money, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, I know, they do what on Fridays? On Fridays, is that when when bands get all the money?
Yeah, which is fine. I get that.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
cool.
cool gesture. You know,
I'm
can't
not
knock
gonna
that.
lie, man. I'm a Spotify user all day, every day, you know?
Same.
It's so fucking convenient. I mean, my band's on
You
there, we've
got
been on
entire
there, you know?
discogs. You know,
Oh,
they got.
yeah,
It's not like Apple Music where they don't have the entire
see,
discog.
I can't do Apple Music, even though I'm an iPhone user, and Apple Music, I just don't like it. There's too much there that's nonsense that I don't care about, you know?
It's Apple being
Every hip hop
Apple.
dude has a yeah, you're right. There's just so many hip hop shows on there, and like every rapper has their own show. It's like, okay, I'm cool with like Russell Simmons or something like that, but everybody has a show on there, you know. And they used to have like Mark Hoppus has his show back on there, which is cool. That's a great show, you know.
Oh yeah,
But I'm not paying for that service. I'll pay my Spotify service, you know, whatever that is a
yeah.
month, but I use it so much, I don't mind paying it. People are like, "You pay for that?" I'm like, "Yeah, because I want to listen to all these different discographies. If you don't pay, you don't get all that luxury to listen to all these discographies. You listen to a couple songs and then you're in some other playlist because they don't want you to listen to that no more, you know? Um,
And so that's where Spotify has really ticked me off, and I still use it every day. But when it starts to go into other stuff, like I'll skip something like a few times, and I won't say any band names, but it's like I will just literally say out loud so my phone can hear me, like, "Why do you keep trying to push this band on me?" I've skipped it every time, and I've tried because like the music will be good. I just can't get past this vocalist, the voice. And
so
it's fine. This is how it works. But like sometimes, but like I'm just like, yo, Spotify, get the hint. Get the hint.
I listened to Wallflowers the other night, Tom Petty
Nice.
in the morning when I woke up. And when that album ended, the playlist it started was just phenomenal. Like everybody, like it was all over the
I'm
place. You
ready
know, it had
radio's
like,
got some
yeah,
bangers.
but you had everybody from Jim Blossoms to the Wallflowers to Blues Travelers to, it was just a great, and then, all the older Tom Petty stuff. It was just a great thing, man. And I listened to that for like 3 hours, and then because it didn't, sometimes it'll go back and start repeating. It didn't repeat once, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, that was great." Because Wallflowers is a great record, you know.
Oh, phenomenal. Like I could talk all day about just the genius of that band and of him and team Mike Campbell alone, like just
Well, for somebody, I mean, I like Tom Petty. I like all the stuff, but what's the difference between Tom Petty and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers?
um to me, obviously Tom has all the control he has control in both bands, but like the Heartbreakers are a unit,
Uh-huh.
and people's ideas are there, and Tom might be like, yeah, no, but like there's, like what's a good example? I remember when he was doing um Free Falling. I
Okay.
think that's the song. I think I'm thinking about the right song. And Howie, the bass player for the Heartbreakers, didn't like it. He didn't like it. He went out in the hallway, was mad about it. He's like, I don't like this song. And it's funny to hear that from a band because it's like, I mean, you don't like this song because this is like this iconic song now.
Yeah.
But Tom, since it was his record and not really a Heartbreakers record, even though Heartbreakers did play on those records, Tom just looked at him and goes, okay, fine, don't play on it. You have to play it. It's going to go on this
Yeah.
record regardless. And I think on a solo record, that's the difference. I think it's okay, well, then you don't have to play it, but you will be playing it live, you know, on Heartbreaker tours, especially when it
Yeah.
becomes a hit that it did, you know. So it was like
Did
a
you
rejuvenation of his career, which is insane.
did you ever get to see Tom Petty live?
I did get to see him one time.
Saw
Indianapolis.
him 95?
Nice. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. So 95 would have been while he was it was like towards the tail end of the Wildflowers touring
Uh-huh.
record.
And this
So
the stage set was just a tree. Just a tree in the background. That's it. Um, I'd had already graduated, but um, that year, all my friends, it was around graduation. They were like, "Well, she should go to graduation or go see Tom Petty. We're gonna go see Tom Petty." So they said, "Fuck the graduation parties," and they went and saw Tom Petty, which I would have did the same thing. You can go to any party any day. Graduation
right.
parties, no, not
I
special,
want
you
to go
know.
see I want to go see the Heartbreakers, dude.
Yeah. So yeah. So the Louisville scene. What kind of scene you guys have up there?
Um a big one at the moment.
Yeah.
Things are full steam ahead in name a genre, you know.
Yeah.
Um, it's all booming, and there's a few clubs in town. Used to be just a couple, and then maybe three, and then now it's just like there's always a show, or there's always something going on. It's crazy. It's not like mid '90s like it was for that, but you know that scene is thriving again too. You know, so it's not segregated, but it's just like your different cliques, you know. You got like you got a rad Americana show going on, and a rad punk rock show, and then a post show, and then a hardcore show. Because obviously, like LDB's brought a lot of business and a lot of bands to the city, also.
Yeah, I was about
So
to say, that LDB fest is fucking every year. It's like it feel like it just gets
massive.
bigger and bigger. And then of course, a lot of eyes got thrown on the Louisville after Knock Loose broke big. You know,
Yeah,
um,
I'm glad that hardcore is having its well deserved heyday. It's
yeah,
been so long, and it's kind of one of the last elements of our because I consider it all a community from where we come
oh
from.
yeah. Whether it's
And
punk, emo, hardcore, all that stuff's the same
right,
thing.
we were all in bands, and we were all playing VFWs and basements and house
Mhm.
shows and dive bars. And
Yep.
it you know, I'm glad. It's about time.
Yeah. Because the Nashville hardcore scene's fucking blowing the fuck up again. I mean, it's not really ever gone anywhere, but right now there's so much shit going on in Nashville. It's great. So many good venues too. We Nashville we had the place called the Muse, and
Yeah.
it's now currently a Domino's Pizza. But that venue was, I would say, that was like our CBGBs. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
It's
such
a
a
classic
shithole. But
club. I haven't heard that
you
name in
know,
a while.
yeah. And then of course, the End, which is that's another great venue too. You
The
know,
room was so
that's
sick, dude.
have you
I
played in
love it.
there?
I haven't played there, but I've seen shows there. I mean,
It's
I
a
like
great.
the
I
room.
like the way it's set up. It's so narrow, and no matter
Mhm.
what time of year it is, it's hotter than shit in there. But it's a great fucking venue, man.
And cool part of town,
Oh yeah.
cool part of town. So
Um.
you're not
Well,
not too far outside the city.
we almost lost. We almost lost Exodus. And that came back.
Iconic, another place I love.
You know.
Iconic place again too.
Oh man, Nashville. I mean, it isn't Music City for no reason. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of iconic venues. I
Yeah.
mean, um, luckily, there's a place called Springwater, which is like supposedly like the oldest bar in Tennessee or something. It's like it
Looks
passed
like it when you walk
prohibition.
in there too.
Yeah, yeah,
It looks exactly it
yep.
looks old too. It looks like it
When you
is
when you
the
play
one
that
piece
stage,
survivor.
it's like the stage has the back of the stage has like those like um I don't know what it looks like the pink like tinsely shit in the back hanging down and shit. You know, it's just like yeah, like a go go bar or some shit. You know, but
No,
it's
like
a cool spot, man.
They close Ernest Tubbs, but Springwater's still going,
Yeah.
which is sad. They should, God, man, you think the city would have, you think
It,
Nash Vegas would have tried to save it. But
Nashville, man. I mean, and you know, even the original Rocketown was phenomenal back in the day. You know, I'd seen so many great
I
shows
saw
at that
Movie
original.
Life and H2O and
Hell yeah,
Autopilot Off
yeah.
at Rocket Town.
I
Place
saw
is huge.
Newfound Glory there. I saw Kill Switch Engage there. Played there fucking several times. That's around the era too when all the Christian hardcore and Christian metal was huge back then too. Um,
Yeah,
that was a good scene. I mean, I used to book a lot of those face down bands and
yeah.
blood and ink bands and shit.
Last year, Zayo played Magbar. That
How
was
was
wild.
that? Yeah.
Off the It's sold out. Like everybody came out of the woodworks. It's like, and even like all week, people like, fucking Zayo's playing Mag. Am I reading that right? Like, yes, 2024.
It's
This band
cool
is
though,
like,
man, to see these bands coming back though. And even if it's just like a for one tour, um,
right. Yeah.
it's there's one band that I'm really pissed that I have not yet to see, and I thought I was going to see them when they came with Poison the Well was Glassjaw,
Oh, I've
and
never seen
Glassjaw
Glassjaw, dude.
they played Atlanta, and then the next night, no, they didn't. They weren't on the Nashville date, and I was like, motherfucker. That's the only reason why I wanted to go to the show because I've seen Poison Well more times. I've seen Poison Well so many damn times, but I was like, I want to see Glassjaw. Nope, didn't get to see him.
Yeah.
I was pretty.
I would love to see Glassjaw too. Honestly. I've never
Oh,
seen them. Like,
anything Daryl has done, I would like to see. Have you ever seen Head Automatica?
no, I would love to see him. It's just so wild that those first two records. I mean, the first record's a banger. I was like, damn, this is Daryl. It's Columbo,
But
which is
see,
great.
both of those bands, Head Automatica and Glassjaw played Crazy Fest. Both of those bands had played Crazy Fest. I actually
Yeah,
have
Glassjaw, like Crazy Fest. Like it's they were made for Crazy Fest.
I have that video from Crazy Fest when they played.
Oh,
Um,
that's pretty
Botch played there, and I heard, fucking that. There's that those Crazy Fest shows, man, were insane. I think the last Crazy Fest, if I'm not mistaken, got like they had an after party or after show at a strip club. Bane played it. I think Bane played this like it was like a strip club or some shit. And yeah, I was like, that'd be kind of gnarly, see Bane in a strip club. The ugliest band in hardcore, but they're still going strong.
Yeah, that sounds like a Louisville show. And that could have been one of two places for sure.
Yeah. So what is your plans for the band, say the next 5 years?
No, try to just keep putting out quality music, play shows. I know we're slower these days, but we still get out and we still hit other cities. But we've gotten really into like just putting set lists together and
Yeah.
bettering our live show. I guess you could say it's our cylinders are firing again, and we're just enjoying that. But we also love the art of writing songs, and we know that I am always writing because we might put a song out and it might come out like, you know, close together, but some of those songs could be like we could be working on them for a minute. I don't rush anything. So
Yeah.
not in my nature.
I
Yeah.
know we've had songs that my band house at the time, we had songs that we Like, all right, it's ready, it's done. And then we hit the studio, and then we listen to it. We're like, no, it's not done. So
No.
we
Yeah.
we wasted it. We recorded it, which is great, but we didn't release it. But we kept it for ourselves to work on it. But it wasn't ready because when you hear it recorded compared to when you hear it in the band room, it's two different songs because you don't
Yeah.
hear all the errors.
No.
That's why.
And you're just saying that something's there, so keep
Yep.
working at it.
Yeah. Yep.
Great songs take on their own life forms, and pretty much they eventually make you write them the way they want to be written. You know, they grow
is
over time. I think songs are a living organism almost.
is there a song that you guys have that you love to play live?
Yeah. No new ones I'm gonna name right now, but
Uh-huh.
I love playing Haunted, which is on Eonian, and then off the new record, I love playing like Ritual and Burning Midnight Oil, and we've been playing Wearing Thin, and that one's been a lot of fun live. But definitely Ritual off the new record, and Organized Sound. That song is so fun live. You know,
Do
it's,
you
uh, love it.
do you guys have your Broham song? The song that you have to play at every show?
No, we used to. We did start playing Dark Towns again, and we gave it a break because at the time, like Haunted and Dark Towns were some of our biggest songs. That were the ones that you would know us by if anybody was in
Yeah.
the crowd that knew us. And we got that. We get requests for that, like songs off that record. But this record's kind of taken over, and you know, but yeah, we probably played Dark Towns the most for the longest time, and we just started playing it again because it's fun, simple. It's a no brainer for us, honestly, and we don't even have to rehearse it all the time. It's just like if you call it out, we're like, I'm glad that's the one you call out because that's the one we know.
Well, for as far as your music goes, is there any themes that you write about, or is it just whatever you're feeling at
It's
the
just
time?
live. I've started introducing characters in songs a little bit, and I'm a big fan of like old country and Americana too, and stuff like that. So I write about just topics, some personal for me. A lot of the earlier records, yeah, all, but like, and then what friends might be going through, or
Yeah.
some songs are political, just not blatantly. We're not bad religion propaganda about it,
Yeah.
but if you look in between the lines, there's a few songs, that tap into that and societal issues. I think Buffalo, the closer of our latest record, is about something personal, but also, blaming society and like just the way we're all tied into bullshit right now, and like just
Yeah.
screens and the way people think. It's just the opening. What's the opening line of that song? It's I think it says, "It seems today." Fuck, I can't do it without singing it. But it's
You're
about the
good. You're
rust.
good.
About the rust in our daily feast is one of the lines, and it's about the media, all the shit we're fed, and what it's done, and what roads it's led some people I've known down. You know, it's like
It's it says it seems
yeah,
today the people's dreams are dying from the rust in our daily feast,
yeah,
this daily bread. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, you were talking about bad religion and the political thing. When I was young, listening to bad religion, I didn't know what the fuck they were singing about. I was just like, "This is catchy shit," you know. And then
Until
when I,
American Jesus, man, I was like,
yeah,
I know what you're fucking saying, bro.
and Eddie Vedder was in that song.
Hmm.
So crazy. He was on a, he
So
was on a, he was on like a couple bad religion songs, but those dudes, I mean, that's what they all grew up on because, like, everybody forgets that Eddie Vedder was from San Diego. He was
yeah,
from
it's a
all those.
surfer. Eddie
Yeah.
Vedder's a
So,
surfer. This
hey,
is
I don't
killer.
care. I like some PJ, man. I like PJ.
I watch all
Uh,
their interviews and all that. Yeah, I would nerd out with them any day.
oh, fuck you. When they played Nashville last month, um, I wanted to go, but I had just dropped $1,000 on a little band called Metallica. So two days later was Pearl Jam, and I couldn't do it. And Pearl Jam wasn't cheap either. But
No, no.
the second night, Peter Frampton came out the second night and sang with them, and I was like, "Fuck, Peter Frampton."
Oh, I
That
remember.
was
I never saw the footage, but I remember hearing about that. I saw
uh-huh.
something about. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I've only I've seen Pearl Jam back in the '90s, but I would like to see them now at this stage of their life, just like I would like to see the Foo Fighters at this stage of their life. Because I saw Foo Fighters in '95 at 328 Performance Hall in
I
Nashville.
saw them in
They're
Lots. I saw them. I saw them also in Indianapolis.
yeah, they were great back then, but they could play for 3 fucking hours, and it's just like they could probably play for 3 more fucking hours, you know? He's like, dude does not stop. I don't know how he keeps his voice for that damn long. Chewing bubblegum, I
It's
guess. I
just,
don't know.
yeah, I don't
You
know. I don't know that dude's secret at all.
know,
Just what?
he's been in hiding for a little while. He's been in hiding the last year, but we'll see.
Yeah, he
If
got
he,
caught rock and rolling. That's for
hey,
sure.
that's what I guess that's what he does. I know that they just announced all their tours this year for Europe. They're announcing a bunch of dates with a new drummer.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see who that is.
It's
You
gonna
know,
be Shane.
you think so?
It's I well, because he took over his dad's drumming for the
Heavy
Chevy
metal.
Metal. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I can see
he's older
him.
now.
Yeah, he when you figure when he did that tribute show, he was like 16. Now he's like 19. So, he's a little more mature, I guess. I don't know. I mean, look,
And he's got his
fucking
dad's chops.
dude, he did his mannerism, everything. It's like the way I'm like, wow. Even the way he like this his hand mode, everything. It's like, wow, that's pretty
I think
trippy.
it's something the band knows, and like I'm a fan of Josh Freese too.
Yeah,
I don't really get into all the bullshit. I do think like um, outside perspective, I don't know what went down. I was really surprised. I thought the last Foo Fighters record's really good because it's
yeah,
really personal. It's like,
yep,
but I didn't expect a record so soon, and I definitely didn't expect them to announce a drummer so soon. And I don't know if that, like, I could be totally wrong. This is all
yeah,
speculation, but I don't know, like, if you feel pressured, if you feel like that would help you power through this, that would help you move on. I don't know. Everybody's got a different, because you think about
great,
somebody. I'm not excusing what mess he's in, and I don't condone it, but
yeah,
it's a personal issue between him and his wife. That's the way I see it. Like
yeah,
there's a lot worse fucking things out there. I'm not
yeah,
saying that's great,
and
but I just think that I think with Taylor's OD, and then his mom passed around the same way at
yeah,
time, and then you got to go back to where like him and Novoselic even still have to deal with like I'm sure
yeah,
that Kurt mess still feels like yesterday every now and then. It's got to be some PT. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying let's
no, no,
talk about mental health. Let's like
yeah,
look at this dude. Like look at Dave. Look at the last 2 years of footage. He's just like chain smoking cigarettes, nailing
he,
fucking drinks, dude. Like I know that. I've been that. I've done that.
yeah,
When you're a nerdist, it's self destruction is what it is.
he,
It only makes him human, honestly. I'm not
no,
not
and
what he did. I'm just saying, like being in the line. I don't know what that's like. I don't know any of
no,
that's like.
but I'll say this though. I think people hold people like celebrities and musicians in a higher
That's what I'm
standard. And
saying. We don't know
you know,
that. We don't know
yeah, dude,
what that
yeah.
ball of light is.
But I will say this though, it's crazy that like they said they picked like that, but that album was already done. So it's like it's like they must have already recorded with him this album. And at the end of the day, Josh Freese is a hired gun. How many fucking bands and records has that guy been on? But
That's Grease.
now he's huh? Yeah, at
That's
least 50
Grease.
plus records. But um, I did like the when they Nirvana came back when they did like all the female singers. That was kind of cool,
Fucking cool. This is really cool.
Yeah, especially having, Kim Gordon and fucking Joan Jett and who was that other broad that I can't think of her name. I always forget her name. Not Halsey, not her. I can't
I know
remember
his
the
daughter
chick.
did one. Like
Yeah,
Dave's
she can sing. She
daughter.
can sing her ass off. That girl can sing.
Oh, she got pipes. She
Yeah.
is. Uh, yeah, she's got pipes.
So here's a question for you. If your band had a mascot, What would it be?
A buffalo.
A buffalo?
Buffalo or an owl.
Okay. I think owl would be cool because owls are pretty territorial. I was just talking to somebody the other day and I was like, why is there an owl on top of that building? And they're like, because it scares the birds away. I'm like, I need a fucking owl for the top of my house because I got birds during the morning time fucking pitter pattering on top of my fucking roof, man. I'm like, Jesus Christ, owl. Um, if your band was a combo meal, what would be in the meal?
Oh my god. Let me. It's a good question.
This is the
Uh,
second person I've asked, so it's a new question for me to ask.
I'm going to try and think about it for all four of us. Um, so
Or you could do like
two.
this, like you can be like the main, and then somebody could be like the side, the drink, and then like a appetizer.
uh, I want to say one is you got to put a cheeseburger in there for JB
Okay.
and fries. Um, and then for Rafa, man, pizza, and then any vegan taco or sandwich for Rob or I. so it'd be one messed up.
Yeah. So
like that.
basically, you're looking at the Jack in the Box. What's that Snoop Dogg meal they got there when it's just like everything's
It's
in
just
that
pick
thing.
two or whatever, man.
No, I think it's called the Munchie Meal by Snoop
Oh, the
Dogg,
munchie
and
meal.
it's
Right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's nowhere
Those
in
are
a nutshell. The munchie meal. There you go.
yeah, it's like
That just drives us
5.99
to
or something.
practice.
When you guys are on tour, what's your go-to gas station snack grab?
Oh shit. For me, it's probably like the peanut butter Cliff Bar and then some honey
Okay,
roasted peanuts.
all right,
Um, and then with whatever coffee I can
yeah,
find. And then
yeah,
I don't know for the other guys. I always see like nuts or Cheez Its or something.
yeah. I always get a White Monster and some sort of chip that I've never had before. I try to look for like the limited edition special chip because I like chips, and no matter where you're at, there's always a like is it Zappos or Zippos or whatever they have in like
Yeah.
Indiana? Those
Yeah.
are yeah, those are great, and I got to get those when I can. They just started selling them around here in the grocery stores,
Oh,
so
they
I'm
do
like,
they? Yeah, those things are
yeah.
great. I love those.
Uh, what's it going? Yeah. Well, do you guys have any more shows coming up this year?
We
Besides, you said
do.
it later on.
We just haven't announced. Like we are playing home on July 8th for a
Okay.
502 show with the band Snooper. We're not. We just got asked to do the show, so we will be there July 8th at Mag Bar. But we'll be announcing some shows for the fall. We're gonna spend the rest of summer getting these demos and getting the next record. We're still gonna be touring and playing shows for Modern, but we do not want to. We just decided to get back to work on the next thing, just so we
Yeah.
can be working on it. Because we're just playing these songs for Modern now. There's nothing to work on except putting set lists together and seeing what old ones we want to dig out.
Did you say that Moderns can get put on vinyl?
It will be put on vinyl. We'll be announcing all that pre-order and everything soon. We're just
Are
trying to get
you
we're going to hear back for like I've gotten 2 target dates. I'm just waiting to see which date's actually going to be the date.
are you guys self-releasing it? Or are you guys on? Are you on a label at all?
We're self-releasing. We are going to. We got there's some new stuff we're going to be passing on to some people. I don't want to
Uh-huh.
say too much. You never know.
No, 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 no.
I don't know. But we
Okay.
don't. We'll take the help, but we also don't mind self-releasing either. Obviously, at this point, we just don't
Oh
care.
man.
We got
I,
a rap. We kind of know how to do it, and um, we know how the PR. We know the insanity of online.
Let me
and
ask you this question: Do you think it's like at this time, but this time, besides getting distribution, I mean, honestly, you could do it yourself. But like a label, if you're on a label compared to what you're doing by yourself, what's really the difference there? Besides them paying for the releases?
Um, I boil it down to because we've worked with so there are some differences. Like labels, more successful labels anyway, usually have a
Yeah,
little bit more of a you owe the label whatever you're getting from them. That's for sure. But there are labels that do have good management and take care of bands, and I think that's a plus. And I think sometimes bands need that upper hand that to help. You know, releasing a record on your own is expensive
yeah,
because you're paying for your PR. You're paying for your prints. It's your job to make sure that this person over here that you paid to promote this part of your record, or like the vinyl release or
mhm,
the tour you just announced, and then this person over here is supposed to be promoting the video. Like it's all cost something. You
yeah,
can do all of it for free, but with the way Meta is and the way that all the sites that matter now, you got to pay for promotion if you want to be kind of
yeah,
cooking out of the pot, you know?
yep,
Like we have to get a certain number of plays for us to be continuously sticking in pots. To do that,
yeah,
you have to pay for the PR to get to that point. And
yeah,
it's so labels, but it's not, and that's another thing. Like if we sign with anybody, like yeah, we would definitely Eonian was never printed because it was getting ready and sent off to print, and it will be printed at some point, but the pandemic happened, so now we have two records that haven't been in print. Trials is out of print. Would love to reprint it at some point. Um, and it's nice to have help with that, you know. It's
yeah. I
nice
hear
to have
you.
help, because they got the connects too, People listen
Yep.
to labels. Not always the DIY band that doesn't have a lot of clout.
Yeah. And it's like you said, like on Instagram, you can only do so much without paying for sponsorships, and not even. I've realized lately, I get a lot of sponsorships going. Like I'll be scrolling through, it's like sponsor, 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 sponsor. I'm like, holy shit! Like respect, but I'm like, that's a lot of
We
sponsors.
have
And
to do that. We
yeah,
have to
yeah,
sponsor stuff, because if we
yep,
don't, nobody's gonna know
yeah,
if we might be coming, because if they live on it, okay, well then you can know we're coming to your town or for
hmm.
to a city right next to you or something.
That is a thing too. When you do the sponsorship, you got to that sponsorship ad or post has to be something informative, because if it's not informative, a lot of time people are going to click on it. Like if it's just a
Can't be
logo,
super artistic with it anymore. You
yeah,
got to kind of
no,
be right there with it.
yeah,
You got to
yeah,
grab the
and that.
eye.
One more question, and I'll let you run because I know it's getting late on your end. Do you guys do any covers?
Yeah, we've done covers in the past. We covered REM's "The One I Love"
Nice.
for a comp back during the 2020 elections, and then we did a Jimmy Eat World cover for a Christmas comp, and we did it because we did a Christmas comp, and I was like, man, I don't really want to cover a Christmas song, and I started thinking of all the songs in my brain. I was like, Clarity, Jimmy Eat World, 12/23/95. They say Merry Christmas at the end, and Never Nude Records okayed it, so we were like, okay, so and we recorded that ourselves at our studio. We're about to start. We're gonna do The Cure's "Just Like Heaven," I think,
Oh
for the
fuck yeah.
remainder of the year. And we've done like Descendants and other, old 97s and stuff in the past. So,
Do you
but
guys? I mean, your blend of music just it's like it's a mesh of everything, and then what you get is nowhere fast, huh?
yeah, that's kind of it's weird. We just like talking about that the other day.
Yeah,
Somebody was talking, just said, "Oh, y'all sound like you." And I was like,
yeah,
"Okay, good, good, good."
I
See the
it's
elements,
funny.
but no, it's us.
When I was talking to Pete about you, when he would talk to me about you guys, he didn't give me any information. He just told me the band name. So I looked up the band name, and I was listening to the Nowhere Fast, the punk band from Portland, Oregon. Okay. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And then he sent me the links, and I was like, well, fuck, that is not the same band. And I'm glad that's not the stuff I was listening to before because I would have been, because that was like months back, you know. Because actually, when I talked to him, I gave him the dates I gave him. I thought was I thought it was April. I thought I put April, and I actually said May, I guess. And I was like, "What the?" And then I looked at the message I sent him, and I said 5, and it was like I was like, "Oh fuck!" I said 5/29, and I was like, "Well, that's a ways away," but I didn't want to change it just in case, you know. And then you guys were you had something
That's
going
my
on, and
fault. I don't even know why I
nah,
told
it's,
him that it
no,
was okay because
nah,
that's when we were in the middle of, we had Midwest Friends Fest in Columbus, and
yeah,
then we
man.
had George Fest and home shows, and we had
And I
so
had
much.
saw that, and I had seen that, and I was just like, well, maybe they're gonna make time. I don't know, you know. I wasn't, and I just waited, and then when I sent you that message or the email, which is no problem, man. I mean, I don't mind. You know, shit happens. You know,
Well, I
it's
appreciate the
part of,
reschedule. I just
yeah, man.
I woke up that day and it was one of those moments when you got my message. I was like, "Fuck, dude, I hit a wall. I'm super busy, and like I double booked. I double booked my shit."
Nah, man. Shit. Hey,
So,
it happens, man. I ain't stressing about it. All I do is this, man. I come home from work, and if I'm not gonna do this, I'm watching wrestling. So, it's
I feel you.
well, Seth, tell everybody where they can find you guys on the interweb.
You can find us at nowherefastmusic.com, in Nowhere Fast Music URL for anything, Linktree, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. Spotify. We go by Nowhere Fast, but yeah, obviously the URL is Nowhere Fast Music to separate us from Portland and the Smith song and the Eminem song and the Incubus song and that 80s movie that was called Fire
Well,
Inc. that had a song Nowhere Fast.
well, real quick then, where's the name from? That should have been something I should ask earlier, but where's the name from?
We had a draw in a hat, and once that Nowhere Fast came out of the hat, like we just weren't sure. But obviously, I'm a big Smiths fan, and that's why
Okay.
it went in there. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Are you? So I like the Smiths. Okay, and people give me shit when I say what I'm about to say. I like the Smiths. I don't like Morrissey.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
I
I don't
mean,
like the solo stuff. I like the Smiths. I don't like the
oh
solo stuff.
yeah, I like some of his solo records.
Yeah.
He's had some good bands, but it's not the Smiths, and it's not. Marcy didn't make the Smiths, like he was
Yeah.
just the element that made it. Like the four of them made that band, and
Yeah.
Johnny
Yeah.
Marr's beautiful, righteous, just what a player, what a songwriter, what a melody master Johnny Marr is. That's why that's why Marcy was able to sing his beautiful words over such great music.
Sometimes
So,
people just get good bands.
right.
So
And I think they're one of the bands that were meant to happen. They were supposed to happen. Like
yeah, they're
they're
good.
so
They
like
got
the
they got some
Clash,
bangers.
they were supposed to happen. They were just supposed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I appreciate you taking the time, my friend. It was good talking with you, and I hope you guys have a good rest of the year.
Hey, you too, man. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, buddy. I'll talk to you, man. Laters.
All right, see ya.